Now, primaries are part of the electoral process, and this is required, of course, to be made by the political parties that intend to participate in elections. Now, major political parties in the country have concluded there are primaries in which various candidates to fly the flags of their parties emerged. However, there are complaints all over, well, from some political parties members, as well as cross-section of Nigerians over the conduct of these primaries. In fact, there are instances of violent clashes characterizing the exercise, while others are to be rescheduled. Now, what lessons have the key players in the electoral process learned from the just concluded primaries? What are the other complaints that have actually marred such exercise? Now, what should be done to calm frayed nerves? These are some of the talking points as we review the conduct of political parties' primaries on our flagship program, Nigeria Today. My name is Blessing Abu. Welcome to the program. On the program this evening, to look at this issue of conduct of parties' primaries, at least like a review, I would like to welcome His Excellency Dr. Chris Akomas. He's a former Deputy Governor of Abia State and also member Board of Trustees of the APC. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Adamu Modibo is a politician and also a former Managing Director of Sigma Pensions Limited. He's also a member of the PDP. Good evening, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, welcome to the program. Now, really, the atmosphere is filled with so much excitement, filled with so much people fear, filled with so much disillusionment. All the big adjectives could actually qualify the political environment for now. Yes, with primaries being concluded here and there, definitely there are new instances of people saying this is what it is, this is what it shouldn't be. But really, your assessments of the political parties' primaries so far, whether it's for your party, whether it's for his party, and generally the parties that have come to do their own primaries. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. It is really, I would say, challenging and a process that we really have to sit down and review. For me, as a member of the All Progressives Congress, we speak from that point and also, you know, compare it with what I see and observe happening in PDP. More so, I participated in the primaries. I happened to be one of the aspirants that paid 22.5 million to contest for the governorship of Abia State. The primaries this time, I don't know where we got it wrong. If you notice, both parties were racing against time. It was choking for both.
But we knew the primaries were going to be. Elections are
that's
already
what I'm saying. And for me, for APC, I look at it that, okay, APC just, you know, had congresses and conventions that brought in new people who had not actually settled in. They were still settling in when the primaries came on, you know, started. And we had to go ahead with the primaries. And then the issues for me was the confusion between having all three modes of primaries. People can decide whether direct, indirect, or consensus. And so some states decided to go consensus, some direct, some indirect. And the guidelines, some people did not even see the guidelines before the primaries were conducted. And in some cases, people expected that direct would be what we used to know, which was the option A4, where people, all members of the party, card-carrying members, will come out and queue. But it turned out that in some places it was option A4, in some it was secret ballot, in some it was combination of both. Which actually created a big problem.
Okay.
And the registrars coming from the headquarters were, in most cases, like in Abia, jettisoned. And the local registers that were concocted were used. So you see a lot of problems. But in PDP, from what I've observed, because they continued with indirect, they knew the system that they've operated in the past. They continued with it. It was a system that people understood. They knew what was coming. And then it was the question of direct primaries is a huge thing because the logistics
okay,
is
Your Excellency,
huge.
I know this is one area that is cheering most of the political parties, whether for your APC ruling, APC, the opposition, PDP, as well as other political parties. Yeah. Now, the tearing apart, like we said, is also aspect of being direct or indirect primaries. Which there are guidelines, definitely, what INEC already, or the Electoral Act are already put out. If you're going to follow suit, it should be across board. Isn't that the position?
No. You see, every political party has its own internal regulation and guidelines.
Exactly.
Whether you want to do direct or indirect or by consensus. And both parties, I must tell you, both parties have in their own constitution provisions for all the three. You can do consensus, you can do zoning, you can do direct, you can do indirect.
But ultimately, you should agree with members.
Yeah, it depends on what the National Working Committees or NEC of each of the parties agreed upon. Like in the PDP, they have agreed everything will be indirect, delegate election. And let me also mention that the confusion in the APC, as stated by His Excellency, is understandable because APC is a new party, even though there are a lot of PDP elements in the APC, but PDP as an institution has had a lot of experience since 1999 of organizing primary elections, organizing general elections, and also organizing the party, while APC has barely only four years. And most of the membership or the leadership of the APC are coming from various backgrounds: APC, ACN, CPC, PDP, and NPP, and so on. An amalgamation of a lot of political backgrounds, political party backgrounds. And since they got to power in 2015, they have not had time to sit down to organize the party and do this thing. However, be that as it may, I think the lesson that His Excellency was trying to convey that we have taken is that there was a lot of there was more confusion in the APC than there was in the PDP. This, which I've explained already, the fact that the PDP is more experienced, is more on the ground in terms of roots and structure. But the other thing is that I would like to make this point that there is a need for the Electoral Act, every circle of the Electoral Act amended by the National Assembly, to be able to make regulation or even legislation to force political parties to certain standards. There's no way in the same country you can say in Zamfara you should do direct, in Adamawa you should do indirect, in Abia you should do...
What does that do to the polity? What does that do to our democracy? Because if we're applying one set of rules in a particular state and in another state...
The suspicion is that whatever the APC did depended largely to the whims and caprices of the stakeholders from that particular state, who might not, who the National Working Committee might not want to offend. I cannot see why you should say they should do direct in Adamawa, they should do indirect in Kaduna, they should do consensus in another place and so on. If you are going to do one thing, do one thing. And I would like to tell you that the direct primaries may be the most desirable thing to do, even for every political party to test the popularity of their own candidates in the run-up to the general election, like the one the president did. There was nobody has heard of any complaint. Many people did not even know voting was taking place. Maybe you can argue that because he was alone, perhaps. But the fact is that also because he went for direct primaries. But the indirect primaries in other APC states captured national attention because of the intrigues involved in indirect election. People will go and be changing delegate lists. People will go and change membership register. People will go and change so many things to be able to favor them. And you cannot control personal or vested interests within the National Working Committee, the NEC, or even the National Secretariat. vis-a-vis particular candidate or against another particular candidate in another state.
Isn't this the position that you now raised not still in consonance with what we're looking at aspect of imposing candidates when you now say, okay, you're going for a particular, whether it be direct or indirect now? Where does that leave the aspect of, okay, maybe godfatherism, or people just, okay, we are hijacking what is supposed to be the party for everyone?
Yeah, it is. You see, the political party has to decide who takes the decision in terms of who produces the candidate. Is it the members of the party or the leaders of the party? If it is the leaders of the party, you can change your constitution and say the National Working Committee can sit down and decide who carries the flag in every state or at the national level. I doubt if INEC or any law can fault that. If that is what the members of the party wish, fine.
Are the INEC guidelines or laws not supposed to be followed?
It's an association. A political party is an association, and you have freedom of association. INEC cannot legislate in what, you know, fundamentally a political party can do.
They're still okay, Your Excellency.
You see, let me just go back a little to a few of the points he made and elaborate. When we talk of the issue of the confusion and all that happened in APC, like I said, I take it to be more of a new National Working Committee, not as more than the issue of how many years the party have existed, because the party had set of people that have been conducting primaries and have also had some experiences, but they were changed, and we have new set of people. So that is more of
just one quick one, yes. Gentlemen. I know you both represent your different parties, but we know some of the members of this present parties who are also in other parties, so we are going to be speaking on behalf of the
I'm speaking for everybody. What I'm trying to say is that it is, no matter the party, no matter who, the number of years, who the person that is driving the process within the party, the experiences, the organizational ability, and the need to think through things, has a lot to do with all this. It has a lot. And so that also, of course, it does not have to do with INEC, because INEC guidelines is like a framework. They set the framework, they set the timetable, you have to do this within this framework, and this is how it will go, and we will monitor what you are doing. And that is in place. But the party, all the political parties, they have their constitutions, and as an association, what they prescribe is what they do. Like he said, you have all these things prescribed, but when you decide to do all three at the same time and allow free rein,
but how healthy is that? Those are the questions that people coming out.
The healthiness of those things are the issues that we are facing. We are facing these issues because it borders also on finances, it borders on security, it borders on logistics, it borders on, opportunities for people to hijack, to manipulate. So depending on which type that you decide. In fact, you can say stakeholders do this, and one person that, will have the capacity to do something will hijack. Let me point out here that both direct and indirect, if you do direct, which is like the normal elections we do, vote buying is still, that happened in this one.
It was in indirect.
It was indirect.
In fact, it's indirect. It was in
indirect. In indirect, you know the number of delegates.
So you know your cost.
You know your cost. But in this one, and it's more manageable because the opportunities to control is better and more. Indirect, you even have strangers, people that are coming into it, and the people buy is again the highest bidder. No, I'm telling you, I have just experienced it. I'm telling you, and it's easier. I'm telling you, it's easier.
So both buying is easier in the direct?
Yes. I'm telling you, it's easier to buy and to manipulate people. So the only way, direct is what we all desire and want to do. But the only way to get that done is that you will have the money, the logistics, in place to involve the security that we otherwise.
Let me respond to about this issue of direct. You see, I don't believe there is corruption in every, even in consensus. Even if you put 20 people within the room to say decide, there will still be some elements of corruption. So, but to my mind, there will be more corruption in indirect primaries than there will be in direct primaries. For the simple reason that, take the president's direct primaries, for instance. Over 14 million people voted for him. Can you bribe 14 million people? How can you deliver money to 14 million people within a period of 8 hours?
How can we do that?
But look at the PDP delegation. It's not more than 3,000 people. So it's easier to bribe 3,000 people than it is to bribe 14 million people. However, what I'm saying,
3,000 people were bribed?
That's not what I said. What I'm saying is, both parties can do direct or indirect.
Okay.
So it is preferable to do direct, to test the popularity of everybody, because it is not everybody in direct primaries that you can buy his vote.
Okay,
but it's easier to buy vote in direct primaries.
We'll get back from this break, because we're going on a break now. Yes. I like the fact that either way, there are the merits and also the merits for such position, whichever one. All we want is the actual internal democracy to be strengthened. Isn't that what we're out looking for? Yes. You're watching Nigeria Today, and our focus is on the review for the conduct of political party primaries, of course, as we've just seen across the nation. We'll be right back after this break.
From Africa to America, into Europe, across Asia, inside the Middle East, wherever it is happening, we bring it to you. It's all about news and more news on NTA News 24.
Yes, welcome back. If you just tuned in, the program is Nigeria Today, and our focus is on the conduct of political parties primaries, as we've seen across the nation. I see I have my guests seated, and gentlemen, we'll get to aspect of the mode of conducting itself. Yes, we started on it, but how has this, whether the indirect, whether the direct or consensus, as we have pointed out, been able to strengthen that aspect of internal democracy that we're yearning for across? As we prepare for the general elections, because these are just snippets of some things happening, how is the outlook going to be come 2019?
Look, you know, this is a learning process for us.
How long?
No, I'm coming. Even Americans are still learning. The last elections, that was when they had this issue of interference that they're still talking about, you know, discussing how best to ensure that that will not happen again, that a foreign country can, you know, technology is a thing, and now they lost control of that during that period. That experience they didn't have in the past, so they are also learning. But what I'm saying here, the direct was fantastic for Mr. President, because remember, in APC, he is the sole candidate. If this direct that we did for the presidential candidate, to select the presidential candidate in APC, is what PDP applied with this number of aspirants, you would have had so many people killed. You would have had the kind of violence.
Why should it resort to that?
I'm coming, but I'm telling you that in the direct that we have done in some states, people have been killed. There have been pockets of violence. So if you do that, you know, because you need a lot, because it's general election. What that means, I want to give you an experience. As an aspirant, we had to campaign around the local government areas. And then it got to a stage where I realized that they were not interested in the message or the messenger. Their interest was for you to drop what you have come with. So, and the comparison was, how much did it come with? So it was no longer what you offer. It was no longer the message. It was no longer about the messenger. It was no longer about the capacity. The capacity for them was how much money you are. In fact, when you are speaking, they will be reminding you that another person is coming
to negotiate.
So
I like the money.
At this point, let me say this. I was also an aspirant.
Okay.
I just withdrew 1 or 2 hours before the
Why
conduct
did
of
you
primary.
withdraw?
I withdrew because I complained of illegal change in delegate list, and also some aspirants were giving each contender, each voter, about 100,000 naira per vote, and I didn't have that money. I had to drop out. But be that as it may, you see, this problem of vote buying, this problem of corruption at the primary level of elections is prevalent in all the political parties, irrespective of whether it is big, it is in government, or it is not in government. Even the small parties,
yes,
it happens. And that is the point I'm always making. Let us regulate the conduct of primary elections within our political parties in Nigeria.
So how do we begin to do that?
The National Assembly has to pass a law or make adequate provisions in the Electoral Act to be able to control the way how parties can do the elections with an ultimate view of reducing or eliminating corruption. The law enforcement agencies are there. Other candidates should be given opportunity also to report. Any candidate who comes out to buy votes, automatically should be disqualified. And we have to find a mechanism of going around that. Otherwise, the new menace in our election will be vote buying. If I contested election first in 2003, governor of Adamawa State.
Was it that, what you experienced, this last one, was it as bad as that?
No, it was bad then. There is a lot of improvement now, but only from the secondary election side. The primary election, there is virtually no improvement.
So what role can INEC
because
play?
The primary election is exclusively an affair of the party, while secondary election is within the purview and control of INEC. INEC has reformed. INEC has done very well over the period, but the parties have not done well. Maybe if there is any improvement in the parties, within the parties, is as a result of awareness of delegates and voters that is compelling the parties to be more transparent. Otherwise, there is total absence of regulation in terms of how parties should conduct their primary elections.
So much awareness with the delegates. Are in the same delegate the ones
let me
who
give you an
are
example.
being induced
Let me give you an example. And that is what, let me give you an example. And that is what made this year's primaries, or particularly the PDP, instructive and different from previous ones, and also different from that of the APC. The governors used to control delegates from all the states. Wherever the governor wanted them to vote is where the delegates would vote. But this year, there was a breakaway. Delegates insisted in the PDP National Convention that just ended in Port Harcourt. They insisted that they must be allowed by their governors to vote for a candidate of their own choice.
What could have been responsible for that shift?
Because delegates are getting aware. And they are getting concerned that they do not want governors to gang up and choose a particular candidate who they think cannot compete well with the candidate of the opposing party. And that is the reason why you can see Atiku Abubakar was produced by the PDP.
So
because delegates
is something that we need to
delegates got aware, and they broke away from their governors and made sure they voted for a candidate that they think has adequate capacity to challenge successfully
Your Excellency,
the present
in 30 seconds, because I'm closing this. This is the consensus that we'll close this program in the next 30 seconds.
The delegates, like he said, are getting more aware, but the issue is the awareness. Where is it leading us to?
Where is it leading us?
Is it leading us to ensuring that a better and capable person emerges, or is it leading us to people being driven by their stomach? That is the issue, and it's all over. The truth is that given our situation, people get the kind of leader that they deserve. The recruitment process, I've always said, our recruitment process is still 40, and we must together learn to do something good. And again, at the party level, we must not sit down. There is need to work on how we come about these things, because whether you accept it or not, there are still that aspects of somebody somewhere being given enough powers or authority or preferences and influence that makes him decide who goes where. Even when you say, even when you write all these things, they go back and correct what happened in the field and come out with a different result.
For democracy to thrive,
this corruption in the primary process of getting candidates out in every political party is like corruption in every aspect of our life in Nigeria.
Yes.
It has to be fought by government, has to be fought by the National Assembly, has to be fought by party.
We look forward to every one of you, such as you are here doing, to actually fight that. Now, this is where we draw the curtains for today's outlook on Nigeria Today. Thank you very much. We'd like to appreciate His Excellency Dr. Chris Akomas, former Deputy Governor of Abia State and also member Board of Trustees for the All Progressive Congress.
Thank you.
I also like to appreciate politician, former Managing Director, Sigma Pensions Limited, and also member of the People's Democratic Party, as PDP, Elijah Damumodibo. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. Remember to join us again tomorrow for another discussion on Nigeria Today. It comes up every weekday at 7:30 in the evening. You can also watch this edition or any of this edition at all online at www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. My name is Blessing Abu. Enjoy the rest of the day.